They were just considered bad people, bad children, but they weren't bad children, okay? They were placed there for so many different reasons, but not because of any kind of delinquency on their part. But that is not how they were treated.
We went from washing up in the morning, and they marched us to the chow hall where we ate. Everything was routine, just like the military.
One of the superintendents during the time that my mother was there actually came from correctional services. And so because that person came with that kind of a background in corrections and working in penitentiaries, that's exactly how he decided that Thomas Indian School would be operated. Children marched from here to there, just everything, had its place. I talked to some of the men who went there. I would say majority of them went into the military. Military life was easy for them. They knew how to do all the marching, they knew how to line up, they knew how to dress with their uniforms, everything being exact, making the bed in a military style. They knew all that before they went into the military.
I was in A Division, my sister was in B Division. A whole lot of things that happened. Things that I can remember. When I was 6 years old, this man chased Rosemary and I from Mohawk Park because they took us all on an outing when it was time to come home. This man called us into the gazebo, told Rosemary and I that he had something for us, and that's where he tried to molest us.
Hey y'all, so we just recorded, we just paused and skipped part of it. And that's only because they describe pretty graphically some sexual abuse and violence towards children, and that we didn't want you to have to listen to. Okay.
They had shop on this floor here, then home economics on above.
Yeah, so I had my tonsils out, and I can remember trying to fool them. They used to put us to sleep with the ether. So they put a mask over us and we'd be tied down. And they'd pour the ether over our nose right like this and wait a while. And you'd have to inhale that, And then they'd put some more on there again until you actually fell asleep from the ether. And then they take your tonsils out.
And there's the hospital over there. You want to get up closer. Yeah, I spent a year in that building, the hospital.
And then we always laughed about, there was a head in there he had in a bottle. We'd show everybody that got admitted to the hospital. You want to see the head in there? And it was in a jar that he'd saved. Appendix too were saved. He had them in a little bottle. So you want your appendix back? They save those.
Just kept getting one thing right after the other. I had infection in my ear, then I had whooping cough, mumps, measles, you name it, I had it. And I had no help with my schoolwork. I ended up failing.
My brother was in sick there, and they said he just had a cough and a cold. And they would never let my father go up to see him. So one day my father came and he told the nurse he was going up to see his son, and there was nothing she could do to stop him. And she said that she would call the principal, and he told her, call the principal. He pushed her out of the way and he went up. He says when he got up there, the stench was so bad he couldn't even hardly breathe. And he went in and there was my brother. The principal came running up after him, telling him to leave, and he told the principal, he said, if you don't want to go down those stairs, he said, you better leave. He says, and you better call the ambulance. So they called an ambulance, and the ambulance came. My brother was in Brantford General Hospital for 6 months. He had pleurisy, and he was there for 6 months. Then he was transferred to Lady Wellington Hospital in Ohsweken for 3 more months. When he came out of the hospital, he was so weak he couldn't even hold a pencil. And he just never ever really got better. He died an alcoholic.
what we see and the people we work with, there is multi-generational alcoholism in a lot of the families that we've worked with. And we do genealogy charts usually with the family to find out who their family is and what their resources they might have. And we do find that some of the parents or grandparents that they had were in boarding schools.
I would like to share with you part of my childhood and the effects boarding school has had on me. My father attended the Thomas Indian School. My grandfather went to Carlisle.
My mother and father were both in a boarding school, and my father was married before he married my mother, so he had 2 children, and they were sent away to boarding school. So I might say 2 generations there were in boarding school. My mother went to Thomas Indian School, and my father was at Carlisle, which was in Pennsylvania.
We all on the one that men sit together. I just want to grab a picture of my mom.
She had an Indian name, and the name that she had was to be a faith keeper's name. When she came out of that school, she couldn't speak a lick of Seneca.
You can see the difficulty in when the families try to parent their children, that the lack of bonding with their children, some anger, as a matter of fact, there's a lot of anger and alcoholism. So those are some things that I see on a regular basis from families that had a relative or parent or grandparent who were in boarding schools.
I was ready for bed. Mom made Daddy get me up. I thought I was already ready for school. Okay? Got me up and cut all my hair up to above, right below my ear. She cut about that much. That was the last time I was allowed long hair. That's abuse.
And that was standard practice at the boarding school?
Yeah.
Everybody went through that one.
Everyone, you see? But that was another thing. We don't know
Carryover from
if that was a carryover. We don't know.
She was trained to be a domestic. She learned the art of physical punishment. She learned the art